What do you mean?
These politicians, they say the same thing over and over and over again. Healthcare decisions should be made by doctors and their patients, not by the government. Well, now I know they're not made by doctors and their patients or by the government. They're made by the fucking insurance companies.
That's Brian Thompson right there, the CEO of United Healthcare. He was shot and killed while outside the Hilton Hotel.
And United Healthcare, of course, one of the largest corporations in America.
We're told that Thompson was headed to a conference for United Healthcare that was expected to happen in the ballroom of that hotel, of the Hilton there in Midtown, when there was a gunman who fired shots about 20 feet away from him as he was approaching that hotel.
We don't have anything on the way of motivation yet. The police are saying that they think it could be a targeted hit, that the gunman was lying in wait. If this was a conference that had been announced in advance, perhaps he then knew the CEO was going to be there. That would explain why he struck at this moment.
United Healthcare CEO fatally shot outside New York City hotel in premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. So his wife, Brian Thompson's wife, Paulette Thompson, said he had been receiving threats. Quote, there had been some threats. Basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage. Speaking on a lack of healthcare coverage. I don't know the details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him.
United Healthcare CEO gets murked.
Right.
United Healthcare CEO was murked in New York City.
The killer is at large, but he left behind a trail of clues here at the scene that may lead police to him and to a possible motive, suggesting anger with the insurance industry. This morning, a frantic manhunt for the man authorities.
So this dude, big homie over here, okay, Mr. CEO, walking up to his hotel, okay, having a wonderful day. You know, he's like, man, I can't wait to get a child with cancer, no coverage, so their family is saddled with medical debt. You know, just a regular old day for Mr. CEO. He's just like, walking over to my medical conference where I'm going to go, you know, hang out with a bunch of other CEOs and we're going to talk about how many claims we denied. I assume that's what's happening in the mind of a healthcare CEO on any given Sunday, right? Like, you got to be constantly thinking like, man, $35 billion in pure profit this year. What a banger. Artificial intelligence to deny claims, 90% of which are actually wrong. What a fantastic invention I engaged in. The medical innovation, oh my Lord, the amount of coverage that we can just deny because we made up some random AI thing, so sick. Like, that's probably what's going on in his mind.
This is the claim denial rates by insurance company, and United Healthcare denies 32% of claims based on available in-network claim data. Not only that, but people are also pointing out this is a company that uses AI to deny claims.
And this CEO ushered that in.
As journalist Ken Klippenstein points out, United Healthcare denies nearly a third of all claims that they receive, giving them the highest rate of claim denials of all health insurance companies. And as this Ars Technica headline points out, they also use an AI model with a 90% error rate to deny care to people, which means that the Americans who pay them hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every single month aren't getting the health care that they're paying for. They're being ripped off. And it's not just bad enough that they're being ripped off. These insurance denials results in medical bankruptcy or death. And as the American Bankruptcy Institute points out, medical debt is one of, if not the most common cause of bankruptcy in the United States. And a report published by the Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that 14 million Americans, that's nearly 6% of all adults, owe at least $1,000 in medical debt, and 3% owe more than $10,000 in medical debt.
The words, quote, deny, defend, and oppose appeared on shell casings recovered from the scene. So they're examining whether the words relate to a possible motive involving insurance companies and the responses to claims.
Yeah, United Healthcare CEO is shot, a real situation, okay? The guy just walks away. That is obviously an interesting story in and of itself, but I think one of the more interesting aspects of this story isn't even necessarily like the casings that he left on scene that said the words deny, defend, and depose, according to ABC News, which, by the way, is very similar to title of the book, Delay, Deny, Defend, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It by J.M. Feynman.
And just to have a closer look at what was written on the shell casings, but not on the title of the book, Depose, removed from office suddenly and forcefully.
Officers found the 50-year-old insurance executive and father of two collapsed on the sidewalk. Did he have any known enemies or anyone that you've been able to find?
Yeah, the American people.
The top two comments on CNN's video say, "You make a lot of enemies denying healthcare to people." And another person adds, "Sounds like they denied someone's treatment, they died, a family member wanted revenge, and blamed the CEO." And on the subject of motives, some comments on MSNBC's video echo that same point. What would anyone have against the CEO of a healthcare corporation? Another person adds, "One of the first times that the list of prime suspects would be in the millions." Quote, "I'm sorry, prior authorization is required for thoughts and prayers." Another person says, "Sending prior authorization denied claims, collections, and prayers to his family." Was his trip to the ER really emergent? According to his own company, my husband's heart attack wasn't an actual emergency, and we were out of $3,000, full deductible. It's crazy what my first thought was, and then I looked at the comments and realized I'm not alone in my thoughts. I just can't find the care. Maybe if they ask for pre-approval of my care, then after they pay their required deductible, I might be able to supplement some care. I can't even pretend to care. I hope he's looking up at us.
This is from Facebook. Not exactly the bastion of
leftism.
The socialist revolution, right? This is like MAGA grannies on Facebook. And United Health Group, his company, posts, "We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, blah, blah, blah." Okay, the reaction, though, is what you should note.
19,000 people put a laughing face on the news. That's compared to 1.9 with a crying face, 1.6 with hugging a heart. They eventually deleted this Facebook post.
United Health Group, we are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. Brian was a highly respected colleague and friend to all who work with him. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him. 41,000 ha-has. Only 2.2 thousand kind of sad crying faces. 42,000 ha-has?
Beth says United CEO should have had his primary care physician recommend bullet removal surgery months ago so he would know if he was treatable today. LOL Overruled says United Healthcare CEO denied access to life. Rachel says United Healthcare almost killed both of my parents. Good riddance, asshole. But let's look at some more comments in response to the news reports on CNN and MSNBC. So under the CNN video, people said, if you die from a preventable disease because your insurance was denied, that's murder too. Was this someone referring to the shooter ruined and driven mad by the U.S. healthcare system? The richest country in the world with some of the worst healthcare. Yeah, this was bound to happen. This person says, and how many deaths is the CEO responsible for, I wonder? How many dying and suffering people did he profit off of? Very hard to have any sympathy here. Now on MSNBC's video, people are saying, are we sure that the gunshot wound wasn't a pre-existing condition? Claim denied. And finally, I wonder what he did to that man. I wonder what he and his company did to that man and his friends and family. And just so we're clear, this same sentiment was shared far and wide. Look in the comment section of any video and you'll see zero sympathy from Americans.
Now, America, we have gun violence all day, every day. And usually the gun violence that occurs is some random guy who loses their minds for one reason or another, ends up killing some of the most marginalized people in society. It's either a white supremacist teenager who wants to kill like black and brown people. You go to El Paso, to Walmart in El Paso, shoots like as many brown people as possible, goes to a black neighborhood deliberately in Buffalo, shoots as many black people as possible. Is either stuff like that, or again, someone who's like very clearly mentally ill that goes and like kills classmates, right? That's the norm. It's not the norm. And I said this when Donald Trump was shot. It's not the norm when you got a shooter who's like, you know, I'm actually going to do something consequential. I'm actually going to effectively identify where the vectors of my demise are, and I'm going to target them. That's not normal. And that's precisely the reason why when it's business as usual mass shootings, everybody goes, ugh, thoughts, prayers, whatever, right? But when this happens, they're like, whoa, 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 you can't do that. That's a rich guy. That's an important guy. That's a guy who has power. You can't do that. That's not allowed. Go school children. The do you mean? The do you mean you killed a goddamn United Healthcare CEO? Excuse me? Those are your lords and your masters. What do you mean?
And speaking about guns, here's a point I made back in November of 2022, an outsider's observations on the US. In a country where seeking medical attention can result in debt, it's understandable that people put off seeing a doctor for as long as possible. So you'd have many people miss out on treatment when an illness first develops before it can progress, when the treatment success rate is much higher. Many people would learn about a danger to their health when it's too late. Imagine being diagnosed with something that's progressed to the point where treatment will be expensive and might not work. If you tell your loved ones, they'll want you to get treatment because they love you and you love them. That's why you don't tell them, because you don't want them to deal with a massive medical debt. I have a question for the US. What happens to the medical debt if the patient dies? Does the debt disappear, or is the family made to pay it off? If you're told you need treatment, or you would probably die, but that treatment could financially ruin the people you care about whether you live or not, this situation would drive people to attempt suicide. People that took their own lives and had no history of mental illness might have learnt about a physical illness. When it's easy for people to get firearms, it's easy for people to commit suicide. What two things does the USA have a lot of? Guns and medical debt. So as an outsider, I fear this is what many Americans are dealing with.
But it goes so much deeper than that, because Americans know that politicians are being bribed by these corporations and CEOs, so that way they look the other way when these corporations rip us off and kill us. And some of them are getting a real wake-up call when they're sending out their thoughts and prayers to this greedy CEO, and the comment sections, they're not too kind. In fact, they're pushing back very fiercely and actually calling out the corruption. For example, Amy Klobuchar responded to the news, tweeting, "This is a horrifying and shocking act of violence. My thoughts are with Brian Thompson's family and loved ones, all of those working at United Healthcare in Minnesota." Now, as you can see, she was ratioed by the first response, who points out that United Healthcare is a major donor to her, and others made similar statements. Bill Fort says, "Why don't you feel bad for the thousands and thousands of families that Brian has helped to put in bankruptcy while making millions and millions of dollars? How much does United Healthcare donate to you, Amy?" Quinn says, "Up yours, Amy. You should be investigating that organization for crimes against humanity. That man murdered thousands of people, so don't you dare get on this platform and praise him or offer sympathy for his family, because they didn't have any for anyone else." Now, in case you were curious, she took more than $16,000 from United Health.
NIB Health Fund. NIB, which is health insurance. HCF, which is health insurance. HCF, which is health insurance. Bupa, which is health insurance. Bupa, private health. Medibank Private, which is insurance. Medibank Private.
Say it was around 6:45 a.m. Wednesday when the suspect, pictured at a Starbucks before the shooting, gunned down Thompson as he was walking alone into the Hilton for an investors conference. And in new video overnight, the shooter seen here about 20 minutes before the shooting.
They're looking for a male about 5 feet 10 inches in height.
Yo, by the way, don't get mad at me. I don't want to be like inappropriate here, but he looks kind of hot, dude. I cannot be the only person who immediately went, wow, clearly this guy has interesting style and also is kind of attractive, which is part of the reason why I thought if they catch him and he gets his message out and he's hot, it's going to be a far more consequential problem. They should let him go. Honestly, I'm not even joking when I say this. They should let him go.
And finally, while I'm making this, they still haven't got the guy, and the FBI has joined in and added to the reward money, added $50K, because the NYPD's $10K kind of didn't really seem that enticing, especially considering.
And 3% owe more than $10,000 in medical debt.
They set up a tip hotline. I wonder what sort of tips are being
Yeah, here are the tips they got. People called up and said,
Now, I mainly make videos like this to kind of join in the conversation, and I'll only make them if I feel like I've got something to add that I haven't heard elsewhere and I feel might be an important point. And I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and especially thank you very much to all of these people.
What do you mean with a exclamation point?